The ballroom glowed with golden light, a sea of glittering glass and laughter, yet he stood at the edge of it all, invisible in a suit that suddenly felt too small for the occasion. Every time her voice drifted across the crowd, his heart reached out, but her eyes never found his. She was radiant tonight, magnetic, the center of her world, but in every polite smile and strategic gesture, he saw something calculated. His drink had gone warm, his pride colder. The soft jazz and perfume-laced air felt like a stage, one where he'd somehow missed his cue. When she brushed past him, her hand grazing the air between them without a glance, something inside him fractured. The laughter grew louder, the chandeliers sharper, and for the first time, he realized love could vanish not with a shout, but with silence. When he finally turned to leave, his phone buzzed. One new message, 3 words. His breath caught. Everything stopped. Outside, the air was cold enough to sting. The city hummed like a restless engine beneath the marble steps of the hotel. He told himself he didn't care, that he was done with the pageantry, but her laughter still echoed behind glass walls. He loosened his tie, walking without direction, each step pulling him further from the life he thought he understood. The streets were mirrors of neon and drizzle. His phone buzzed again. The same message glowed on the screen. Please wait. Don't go. It wasn't what he expected. Not anger, not apology. Just urgency. Something trembled inside him. The part that still believed she meant it. He turned toward the streetlight, pulse racing, unsure whether to turn back or keep walking into the cold. The message replayed in his head like a song he didn't remember liking. He stared at it until the screen dimmed. The words looked small, almost afraid. Maybe she had a reason. Maybe there was something he didn't see. He stood under the awning, half hoping she'd come running out, heels clicking, eyes wild with apology. But the doors stayed shut. The gala's muffled laughter bled through the glass, and in that sound he heard everything he'd lost. Then from the corner of his eye, a shadow moved across the second-floor balcony, her silhouette framed in gold light, looking down at him, motionless. It wasn't indifference anymore. It was fear. He stepped off the curb as if drawn by gravity, crossing toward the shadow of the building across the street. His reflection ghosted across car windows, his pulse loud in his ears. The phone vibrated again. Another message. Please, not here. Confusion twisted with dread. He looked back up at the balcony, but she was gone. In the next window, he caught sight of Marcus, phone in hand, watching him through the glass. The chill that hit him wasn't from the night anymore. He slipped his phone into his pocket and kept walking, pretending not to notice, though every step felt like stepping into something much darker than heartbreak. He reached the end of the block before stopping again. The city opened up. Tall glass towers swallowing clouds, reflections trembling in puddles. His phone buzzed a third time. One image now, a dim rooftop, a familiar skyline behind it. A place they'd met before, long before promotions and power and silence. She was asking him to come back, not to her, but to the truth. The rain thickened. The wind pressed against his chest, and somewhere deep inside, he felt the pull of something bigger than pride. Whatever was waiting on that rooftop, he knew it wasn't about love anymore. It was about survival. The rain turned the streets into mirrors. As he made his way to the rooftop she'd shown him, the elevator's hum felt too loud. Every floor a countdown to something he couldn't name. When the doors opened, the city spilled in. Wind, fog, the metallic taste of night. She wasn't there. Only the hum of ventilation fans and a single chair under a floodlight. On it, her clutch purse. He hesitated before picking it up. Inside, her ID, lipstick, and a folded piece of paper. His name was written across it in rushed handwriting. He unfolded it, hands shaking. The note read, "They're watching. Don't trust anyone from tonight. Wait for me." The world tilted. He glanced toward the edge of the rooftop and saw a shadow vanish behind a water tank. Suddenly, the message wasn't about love anymore. It was a warning. He scanned the roof, pulse hammering. The city roared below like static. Somewhere beyond the hum, a door creaked. He turned fast, adrenaline rising. For a second, he thought it was her. The silhouette matched her frame, but when the figure stepped forward, it wasn't Sophia. It was Marcus. He looked calm, too calm, holding an umbrella as if this was a business meeting and not a midnight confrontation. "I made a mess of things," Marcus said evenly, voice slicing through the rain. Ethan didn't answer. The man's eyes were clinical, like he'd already decided the ending. "Walk away now, and you'll stay clean," Marcus continued. Ethan stepped closer, water running from his collar, anger burning away fear. "Where is she?" he asked. Marcus smiled thinly. "Closer than you think." Before Ethan could respond, Marcus turned away, walking toward the exit hatch. "Ask yourself," he said, voice fading, "why she texted you only after you left." The words lingered long after his footsteps vanished. Ethan stood there, rain running down his face, his mind unraveling the possibilities. Was she in trouble, or was this part of something deeper? A setup? A manipulation? He unfolded the note again, the ink now bleeding into unreadable swirls. Beneath it, something else caught his eye. A faint watermark, the company logo embossed in the paper. His stomach twisted. Whatever was happening wasn't just personal. It was corporate, orchestrated. And if Marcus was involved, Sophia was in far more danger than he'd thought. He didn't wait for clarity. Instinct pushed him. He grabbed the note, pocketed it, and took the fire escape down the side of the building. The city felt alive, pulsing with secrets. Every passing car reflected a distorted version of him, and in one window he swore he saw Sophia's face, not real, but burned into his thoughts. He reached the street, soaked and trembling, and ducked into a narrow alley to breathe. He pulled out his phone, typing fast. "Where are you?" 3 dots appeared. Then her reply, "Don't come after me, please, they'll see you." He froze, back pressed to the wet brick, breath fogging in the dark. She wasn't running from him, she was protecting him. He didn't sleep that night. The city kept whispering through glass and thunder. By dawn, he was at his office, still in the same clothes, trying to piece it all together. He spread the note under the desk lamp, comparing its paper texture with files from a recent project, a development deal linked to Sophia's company. It matched. He leaned back, realization slicing through fatigue. The gala wasn't just a celebration, it was cover. Someone had used it to exchange something, documents, data, leverage, and Sophia had known. His phone vibrated once more. A new message from her, meet me where it started. Noon. He didn't hesitate this time. He grabbed his coat and stepped into the storm again, heart pounding toward answers that might destroy them both. The cafe was almost empty when he arrived. Morning light cut through the blinds in thin, trembling lines. The same cafe where they'd met years ago, when everything still felt simple. He spotted her near the back, hood pulled low, hands wrapped around a cup that had long gone cold. For a moment he hesitated at the door, unsure if he wanted answers or just to see her breathe. When she finally looked up, her eyes were red but steady. No pretense, no polished grace, just raw truth waiting to surface. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. He sat across from her anyway. "Then tell me why you wanted me to." She swallowed hard, fingers trembling. "Because they're framing me. And if I fall, you fall too." The air between them went still, heavy with all the things left unsaid. It wasn't love that brought them here. It was survival. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket and set it between them, sliding it slowly across the table. "Everything they've been hiding is on here," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "The contracts, the offshore transfers, the names. Marcus made me sign off on them. He said if I didn't, he'd ruin you." Ethan stared at it, the weight of it pressing down harder than any truth could. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. She met his eyes, tears glinting, because if you knew, you'd try to fix it. And he'd come after you instead. The truth landed between them like a blade, cold, precise, irreversible. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "We can't fix this by being together anymore," she said. "We can only survive it apart." Ethan turned the flash drive over in his palm. It was small, weightless, yet it felt like holding dynamite. "So this is what the gala was for," he murmured. Sophia nodded, gaze falling. "Marcus needed a secure handoff. He used my promotion announcement as cover." The irony made him laugh, hollow and bitter. "All that applause," he said, "and no one knew they were cheering for a crime." Sophia looked up sharply. "It's not just his money, Ethan. It's everyone's. Investors, charities, people who trusted him." Her words cracked mid-sentence. He could see how much she'd been holding in. The fear, the guilt, the loneliness. "You should have trusted me," he said quietly. "I wanted to," she whispered. "But you were the one thing," he said, "I couldn't keep." Outside, the day had turned gray. They stepped out together, walking in silence along the wet pavement. Cars passed in slow motion. Their reflections stretched across puddles. "What happens if I take this to the police?" Ethan asked. She stopped walking. "Then Marcus will know. And he'll make sure neither of us walks away clean." Her words hit harder than the cold air. "He owns more than the company, Ethan. He owns the people inside it." A siren wailed somewhere in the distance. She turned toward him, her face pale but determined. "You once told me truth matters more than comfort," she said. "Prove it." For the first time since the gala, he didn't feel small. He felt the burn of purpose. Dangerous, maybe, but real. They stopped beneath an overpass, the hum of traffic above masking their voices. "There's one more thing you need to know," she said, reaching into her coat. She pulled out a second phone, its screen cracked and flickering. "He's been recording us. Every call, every text." She handed it to him, the device buzzing weakly before dying in his hand. "I stole this before the gala. That's why I couldn't talk to you. He was watching." Ethan's pulse pounded. "Then why meet me now?" Her eyes met his, fierce despite the fear. "Because I'm done running." The roar of engines above seemed to echo her words. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw not the woman who ignored him, but the one risking everything to save him. By the time they reached Ethan's apartment, dawn had faded into gray drizzle. The world felt muted, as if holding its breath. He spread the evidence across his kitchen table. The flash drive, the cracked phone, Sophia's note. "We need to make copies," he said. She nodded, pacing the floor, anxiety flickering through every movement. "He'll come for it," she murmured. "He'll come for both of us." Ethan booted up his laptop, typing fast, adrenaline replacing fear. "Then we stay ahead of him," he replied. She stopped pacing, eyes fixed on him, admiration and regret crossing her face in one fragile glance. "You shouldn't be part of this," she whispered. He met her gaze. "You made it my fight the second you told me the truth." Outside, thunder rolled. Somewhere, a storm and Marcus were moving closer. They worked in silence for an hour, the rhythmic tapping of keys mixing with the low hum of rain against glass. Then, a knock at the door. Both froze. A second knock, heavier this time. Ethan glanced at Sophia, her face drained of color. He motioned for her to stay quiet and crossed the room. "Maintenance!" A voice called from the hall, but it wasn't. The tone was too smooth, too familiar. Ethan's pulse spiked. He opened the drawer, pulled out a wrench, and gestured for her to move toward the back exit. The door handle rattled. Sophia grabbed the flash drive, slipped it into her boot, and whispered, "Go." The next moment, The door burst open. 2 men in suits stepped in. Eyes cold. Movements rehearsed. Ethan didn't think. He swung. The fight was brutal but fast. 1 man lunged. The wrench connected. A crash of glass, then silence. Ethan's breath came ragged, eyes wild with shock. The second man bolted as Sophia grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the fire escape. "We have to go now," she hissed. They clambered down into the rain-soaked alley, adrenaline buzzing through their bones. Tires screeched nearby. A black sedan turning the corner. "He knows," Sophia gasped. Ethan glanced up. The apartment window glowed faintly, blinds torn from the impact. "Then we end it before he does," he said. She looked at him, disbelief flashing across her face. Then something fiercer, trust, the kind that comes after every other option is gone. They ducked into an abandoned parking garage, breath fogging in the cold air. Sophia leaned against a concrete pillar, clutching her side. Ethan crouched beside her, checking for injuries. "Just a bruise," she said weakly. He nodded, scanning the shadows. "We need proof that links him directly." She pulled out her phone, its cracked screen lighting their faces. "There's an encrypted email on his server, one he never deleted. If we get that, we can expose everything." Ethan frowned. "How do we reach it?" Her answer was steady, though her hands trembled. "Through his office, tonight." Silence hung between them, the kind before decisions that can't be undone. He exhaled slowly. "Then we go tonight," she nodded. And in that moment, loyalty outweighed fear. That night, they returned to the building they'd left behind. Her office tower still humming with midnight lights. The security guards looked bored, unaware of the storm walking past them. In the elevator, the air felt heavier than the climb. Sophia stared at her reflection in the mirrored wall, whispering, "Once we open that file, there's no going back." Ethan's hand brushed hers, grounding. "Then we don't stop halfway." The elevator chimed. Doors opened to the top floor, Marcus's office. Everything was glass and silence. The city below looked endless, like a promise they might not live to keep. She reached for her key card, exhaled, and said, "Let's finish this." The door clicked shut behind them, sealing in silence. Marcus's office smelled of polished wood and expensive deceit. Sophia moved to the desk, her fingers trembling as she typed commands into his computer. Ethan watched the city through glass walls, eyes scanning for movement below. "It's password protected," she muttered, "but I know his pattern." Her voice was tight, breath shallow. Then the monitor blinked, revealing rows of hidden folders. "Got it." Ethan turned, relief flickering. But it died when he saw the red light above the door. A motion sensor. Too late. The intercom crackled, and Marcus's voice filled the room, calm and venomous. "I told you, Sophia. Every secret leaves a trace." The elevator light turned on downstairs. Someone was coming up. "We're out of time," Ethan said, grabbing the drive. "No," she replied, standing tall. "We finish this." The elevator bell chimed, echoing like a countdown. Marcus stepped out alone, black suit immaculate, umbrella in hand despite the indoor setting. "You've made a terrible choice," he said softly, walking forward. Sophia froze behind the desk, Ethan between them. "You used her," Ethan snapped. Marcus smiled, a slow, practiced thing. "I gave her everything. The title, the power, the illusion she could make a difference, and she believed it." His words cut through the still air like glass. Sophia's jaw clenched. "You don't get to rewrite what you stole," she said, voice shaking. Marcus tilted his head, amused. "You think anyone will believe you? When the story says you embezzled and ran," he placed his umbrella on the desk, "you never had control, Sophia. You just had permission." Her hand reached for Ethan's, not for comfort, but for courage. Marcus moved closer, every step deliberate. "You think you've uncovered something," he said. "But you've only found what I wanted you to." Ethan squared his shoulders. "Then you won't mind if the police see it too?" Marcus's smile thinned. "You've already sent it?" Silence. Sophia met Ethan's eyes. "Tell me you did," she whispered. "Tell me it's done." He hesitated. That single pause told her everything. Marcus chuckled. Always too noble to think ahead. He reached into his coat, revealing a small remote device. "You have 10 seconds to decide who walks out of here." Ethan lunged forward. Sophia screamed his name. The lights flickered, the sound of alarms rising as smoke filled the hallway outside. Somewhere, something exploded. Marcus backed toward the door, voice echoing, "Now we're even. Now we're even." The explosion ripped through the lower level, shaking the floor beneath them. Papers and glass swirled in the air like confetti of disaster. Ethan grabbed Sophia, pulling her behind the desk as ceiling tiles rained down. "He's gone!" she shouted over the alarms. Ethan coughed through smoke, clutching the flash drive. "Then we follow the plan." She stared at him through the haze. "What plan?" He met her gaze, determination hardening his features. "We leak it. Everything. Right now." She hesitated, trembling. "If we do, hell come for us." "He already did," Ethan said. The fire alarm wailed, sprinklers bursting overhead. He plugged the drive into the surviving computer. Sparks flew, data transferring. Somewhere outside, sirens began to wail. The truth was finally leaving the building. They burst into the stairwell as sirens grew louder. Smoke curled through each floor, and the city outside pulsed with flashing lights. Sophia stumbled halfway down, gripping the rail. "You're not going to make it," she gasped. Ethan turned back, catching her arm. "Yes, we are." He pulled her forward, guiding her through the chaos until they reached the ground floor. Firefighters shouted. Paramedics rushed. And still, the two of them stood in the rain, clutching the drive like a heartbeat. Across the street, Marcus's black sedan sped away, taillights vanishing into the wet night. "He's running," she said. "Good," Ethan replied. "That means he's afraid." The camera of a bystander caught their faces, soaked, breathless, alive, and the newsfeed that night would show the truth had tried to bury. The rain didn't stop, not even after the flames were gone. They sat in the back of an ambulance, silent except for the sound of distant sirens and dripping water. Sophia's hands shook as she watched the newsfeed on a Medicis tablet. Marcus's face, his empire collapsing on live broadcast. The files had spread faster than anyone could contain. "It's over," she whispered. Ethan looked at her, exhausted but steady. For him, maybe. Her gaze lifted, uncertain. "You think he'll come back?" Ethan nodded slowly. Men like him don't lose quietly. A paramedic approached, asking questions, but neither answered. They were too busy staring at the city skyline. A battlefield still burning at its edges. The truth had won, but truth had enemies. And one of them wasn't finished yet. They took refuge in a safe house on the edge of the city. A single-room apartment with flickering lights and the smell of damp concrete. Sophia sat near the window, wrapped in a blanket, watching headlights blur past below. "We did the right thing," she said softly, as if testing the words. Ethan paced, unable to settle. Right doesn't always mean safe. His voice carried that old edge of control, the architect trying to build order from chaos. She looked up at him, eyes softening. "You were still trying to protect me." He stopped pacing. "You think I shouldn't?" She smiled faintly. "I think it's too late for that." Between them, a quiet understanding took shape. The kind built not on romance, but on shared survival. Hours later, a knock at the door cut through the silence. Ethan froze, hand instinctively going to his pocket. Sophia stood, eyes wide. "No one knows we're here," she whispered. The knock came again, firmer this time. Ethan approached slowly, peering through the peephole. A delivery bag? No one in sight. He hesitated, then opened the door just enough to pull it inside. A phone buzzed inside the bag. A new device, screen black except for a message. We're not done. Ethan's blood went cold. Sophia read it over his shoulder, voice trembling. He's alive. Ethan nodded grimly. And he's watching. He dropped the phone into the sink and smashed it with a wrench. Sparks flew, a burst of smoke filling the room. Then, we finish what he started, he said. They left the safe house before sunrise. Driving through the city's industrial outskirts, the air was thick with fog and secrets. Sophia stared out the window, her reflection ghosting against the skyline. He'll come after us, she said quietly. Then we make it impossible for him to hide, Ethan replied. They parked near the riverfront, where old warehouses hunched against the mist. Inside one, he set up a single camera, pointing it toward a wall of printed evidence, contracts, screenshots, statements. You're going public again? She asked. No, he said. We're going personal. She understood then. They were drawing Marcus out. This wasn't defense anymore. It was bait. The trap was simple and dangerous. They uploaded fragments of Marcus's voice recordings to a private feed, broadcasting only to known associates. Within an hour, the bait worked. Ethan's phone buzzed with a blocked call. He answered on speaker. Marcus's voice came low and composed. You've proven persistent, Mr. Cole. But persistence isn't the same as survival. Sophia's gaze locked with Ethan's. You can still walk away, Marcus continued. You can still walk away, Marcus continued. Leave her, and I'll make you disappear cleanly. Ethan smiled faintly, shaking his head. You never understood me. There was a pause, then the faint echo of footsteps on concrete through the line. He's close, Sophia whispered. Ethan set the phone down, reached for her hand, and whispered back, Then it's time. The footsteps echoed long before they saw him. Marcus emerged from the shadows of the warehouse, rain dripping from his coat, eyes sharp and unshaken. He looked like a man who'd already decided how this night would end. You wanted me, he said. Here I am. Ethan stood his ground beside Sophia, their makeshift wall of evidence behind them. You built your kingdom on lies, Ethan said evenly. Now it burns with the truth. Marcus smiled faintly. Truth is just the story told loudest. He took a step closer, hands slipping inside his coat. Sophia's pulse quickened, her breath shallow. You won't leave this place with what's mine, he hissed. Ethan's voice hardened. It was never yours. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was the moment before history rewrote itself. Marcus circled slowly, eyes flicking to the papers pinned behind them. You think this ends with me, he said. You've exposed a system that eats its own. You won't last a week. Sophia stepped forward. Maybe not, but at least they'll know who started it. Marcus's laughter filled the space, bitter, unhinged. You're not heroes, you're footnotes. He reached into his coat and pulled out a pistol, its black metal catching the light. Ethan instinctively shifted in front of Sophia. You don't have to do this, he said. Yes, I do, Marcus replied. Because losing means becoming ordinary. The rain outside intensified, thawed, shaking the walls. For a second, all three stood motionless. The past, the present, and the consequence of every choice they'd made. The gunshot shattered the silence. A flash, a deafening crack. And then the world tilted. Ethan stumbled back, pain radiating from his shoulder, the flash drive clattering to the floor. Sophia screamed his name and dropped beside him, pressing her hand against the wound. Marcus advanced, gun still raised, fury blazing behind his composure. You should have stayed invisible, he hissed. But then, from somewhere above, a spotlight cut through the darkness. Sirens, footsteps, voices shouting. Police. The truth had done its work faster than fear. Marcus froze, realization dawning too late. Sophia met his gaze one last time. "This is what losing looks like," she said. Officers swarmed in, and for the first time, Marcus looked small. Just another man caught in the truth he thought he owned. Outside, dawn crept in, pale and uncertain. The warehouse now swarmed with flashing lights and uniformed voices. Ethan sat on the back of an ambulance again, arm wrapped in gauze. Sophia stood beside him, speaking quietly with detectives. When she turned back, there was no triumph in her eyes, only relief and something deeper, peace. "I'll go away for a long time," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "You did it," she smiled faintly. "No, we did." He looked at her, the lines of exhaustion softened by sunrise. "What happens now?" he asked. She took a deep breath, eyes fixed on the horizon. "We start over," she said, "but this time we tell the truth before someone else does." The wind carried the last of the rain away, leaving only light. Later that morning, Ethan's phone buzzed once. A message from an unknown number. 3 words. The same ones that started it all. "Please wait. Don't go." He stared at the screen, then turned towards Sophia, who stood at the edge of the pier watching the sun climb. "You sent this, didn't you?" he asked. She smiled without turning. "I did. That night. Before I lost control of everything." He joined her, shoulder brushing hers. "And now?" She looked at him, eyes steady. "Now I'm asking you to stay." The water shimmered, catching the light. He slipped his phone into his pocket, reaching for her hand. The world was still fragile, still uncertain, but for the first time it felt real. The truth hadn't broken them, it had rebuilt them.